Good evening, Leon and Aishat. Good evening and welcome to the Cybersecurity Foundational class. Just confirm that you can hear me.
No, sometimes
okay. Confirm you can hear me, Leon and Aishat.
I can hear you, sir.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll just give like 2-3 minutes for others to join and then we'll get started right away. So let's just start quick introductions while we are waiting for others to join. So I will start with Aishat. If you are there, can you confirm you can hear me, Aishat? And welcome, Ayobami, if you can hear me also. Ayobami just left. So Aishat, are you there? Can you speak? Hello. Okay, Leon, let's get a bit of introduction from you. Just tell us about yourself, what you currently do, and why you want to get into cybersecurity. So let's hear from you.
All right, my name is Leon Lewis. I'm an amateur when it comes to cybersecurity and the old tech thing. This is my first attempt, so I'm looking forward to learning more.
Okay. This is your first entrance into tech generally or into cybersecurity, and you've been in tech before now?
Tech generally.
Tech generally, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, welcome. Okay, so what do you do currently?
Oh, nothing related to tech. I do business.
Okay, you just run your own business. Okay. All right, Aishat, are you able to speak now? It seems your audio is not, you are muted. You have to unmute yourself. Aishat, are you there? Hello, Aishat, are you there? It seems, I'm not sure why she can't speak, but can you just drop a message in the group? Leon, Lewis, drop a message in the group that we're about to start. They should join so that their phone will keep buzzing and they can be sure that something is going on. So let's just drop a message on the group that cybersecurity class is about to kick off. Others who have registered for that should join. So just drop a quick message on the group. So we keep buzzing their phone to join so that we don't leave anyone behind tonight.
Just drop the message.
All right, so I think just kick off and get started. I'm recording the session, so if confirm that my voice and audio is very clear and audible, is not breaking at any point, right? Can you confirm that my audio is clear, Lewis, Leon?
The audio is clear.
All right, thank you very much. So if at any point my audio is breaking or is unclear, just kind of let me know so that I can slow down and say what I have to say, so that you don't miss out on anything. Seems you are the only active student right now in this case. Aishat is not able to speak currently. So yeah, so I want it to be as engaging as interactive as possible, Leon. So I want it to be in the class, like be here. So what do you have? What understanding do you have of cybersecurity prior to now? Like, have you read any material? Have you seen any movie about ethical hacking? Have you spoken to any friend that is into cybersecurity? Or why do you want to go to cybersecurity? Why not software development? Why not product design? Why not software testing? Why not product management? Why cybersecurity?
Honestly, I've not really read any material of such. I've met quite a lot of people that are into cybersecurity and they always talk about it. So I just want to have a knowledge of it as well. And
Okay.
I enjoy all these, all these cybersecurity movies. I enjoy them. All this ethical hacking stuff. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Nice. 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 Okay. So that being said, we're going to get into it quickly, and I will just share my screen, and then we'll get started in that. So I'll give you a background about ethical hacking, but essentially what we'll be doing is that this is a foundational class. It's like an introduction
Yeah.
to cybersecurity. But under cybersecurity is actually very big. Just the way people hear programming or they hear software engineering. Software engineering is big because under software engineering, we now have different programming languages. You can go into Java, you can go into C++, you can go into Node.js, you can go into Python, you can go into Laravel. There's so many languages that you can go into, and these are different routes that you can take, and you can be successful in any of those routes. The same thing with cybersecurity, right? There are different area of specialization under cybersecurity. So there are some people that are focused on just ethical hacking. Ethical hacking is a subset of cybersecurity, right? There's some people that are focused on penetration testing, right? That's their own specialization. There are some people that are focused on security and risk management under cybersecurity. There are some people that are even specialized in cryptography. So their own is to specialize on cryptography, that's encryption and decryption, and how to secure communication between two systems. So there are different specialization, but I'm going to try my best to give you like a general overview what cybersecurity is all about, how it started, and all the gist around cybersecurity. So that would just be our first day one topic today. Then as we go into the day two, day three, over the next week, over this week, you will start getting to understand the different tools that is being used under, when you want to protect a system, when you want to create firewalls, when you want to create, when you want to understand how cryptography works, when you want to test for vulnerabilities within a system, and all of those things that you've seen in movies. So let me not jump ahead of myself. Let me share my screen, and then we'll get started, and then we'll see how far we can go tonight. So welcome, Ayobami. Ayobami 8. Are you able to speak? Can you give us a bit of introduction? Let's get to meet you so that we know that you are with us tonight. Ayobami, are you able to speak? You can unmute and just introduce yourself if you are there.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is Ayobami. I just joined the class, out of curiosity to know what's going on. Yeah, cybersecurity is one field that I've found interesting over time. So I'm hoping that after this class, my interest would increase, and maybe someday, who knows, I could pursue a career in this field too. So thank you.
Okay. So but what do you do currently today?
Currently, I'm a data analyst.
As a data analyst. So nice. So you're in tech already. All right. So as a data analyst, currently you capture data, and you generate more like a report, and you can predict trends and give report around information that has been given to you to compare and to analyze, right? So you're able to tell people, okay, you've been given a data set, and then you're able to kind of come up with patterns, see patterns within those data, and then come up with your report. All right, that's fantastic. Data also has a lot under cybersecurity because essentially what people tend to hack is data. But what people want to have access to at the end of the day under cybersecurity is data. You want to be able to protect data. That's why the whole essence of cybersecurity is to protect people from accessing data that they're not supposed to access. Right, so that's the so in cybersecurity expert is more like a gatekeeper, ensuring that people that are not supposed to have they don't have authorization to access some data, they cannot access it. So let's get started, right? So confirm you can see my screen already. Confirm you can see my screen. Leon Ayobami, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen, sir.
Hello.
I can see your screen, sir.
Okay, good. So okay. So great. So I'm going to get started right now. So the reason why we are learning cybersecurity, like I said, is helping people to be able to prevent or protect systems against bad guys, right? The simple reason why we want to learn cybersecurity is because since the day systems have been made in the early 1970s, there have been this interconnectivity among systems. In fact, the entire World Wide Web is interconnectivity of networks, right? So systems connect to systems through the internet. And in that world of internet, there are what we call communications going on, right? System sends information from one IP address to another IP address. And in between that communication, it's possible that something in between is listening in on what is being sent. And if that communication that is happening is something that is supposed to be protected from third party, then you are already giving access to third party to listen to what they are not supposed to listen to have access to information. So imagine that Russia is going to just Oh, can you hear me now? So, Leon, Lewis, and yeah, can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you, sir. Yes, I
Okay.
can hear you.
Yeah, so sorry about that. My network kind of just went off. All right. So as I was saying, let me continue. As I was saying, I was trying to describe a scenario of what cybersecurity is all about, right? So simply, I was saying that imagine that Russia wants to plant a bomb in the US and they have a spy there, that has been pretending to be a staff of the White House for like 5 years or even 10 years, right? But actually, in reality, is a spy for the Russian government. And then in the midst of planting that bomb, they are communicating with him or her in the White House, sending information over the internet or over smartphone or over a device, maybe like what's it called? And any of the electronic device available. It could be any of the channels that they have created. So when they send this thing, imagine the US is able to, listening on all the traffic that is coming into the US, because actually in the world of internet, every system has an IP address, right? An IP address is like the house number. If you imagine on your street, in your area, right? Just the way you can say, if you want to send, imagine in the olden days when they want to send a parcel to a particular house address, when we still use PO box. I don't know if you experienced when we're still using PO boxes, right? So if you want to send a parcel to a particular house, they will write it as number 11, say Adekoya Estates, off College Road, Ogba, Ifakwejaye, Ikeja, Lagos. That's a long address. But what that simply says is that what that address means is that for you to get that parcel to a particular number, you have to start from Lagos, then down to Ikeja, down to Ogba, down to Adekoya Estate, down to number 11. Do you see? So the same thing with a system. Every system that is connected to the internet has what we call an IP address. And that IP address is about a 4-block pointing addressing system. So it has the first block, the second block, the third block, the fourth block. Similar to the way I just described the house number address of a physical house. Every system has an IP address, and every information that is being sent over to an IP address actually passes through the internet, and people can listen to that network traffic or that network packet that is called. So what I'm trying to say here is that essentially cybersecurity is to ensure that every communication that goes through the internet, every communication that passes through from one system to the other system is protected against unauthorized access, right? So it could be that you are trying to protect that system from unauthorized entrance by an outsider, or you are protecting the traffic that is being sent to that system from being hijacked by someone else who is not supposed to have access to it. Those are the two essential main way or main areas of cybersecurity. So you are protecting a system from unauthorized access, or you are protecting communication between two systems, right, that are talking to each other. That is what cybersecurity is all about. And based on what I've just described, let me tell you about the different areas that cybersecurity, covers, the different things that you can talk about where you can apply cybersecurity. Number one is data security. That's exactly what I've just explained now. So in every network that you have, there is hardware involved. Hardware is the physical system, your laptop, your mobile phones, your tablet, and there is software involved, your Microsoft Office, your Outlook, your WhatsApp, your Facebook. Those are the software involved. The software always sits in the hardware, right? And there must be data that is provided within those systems. So in fact, imagine your Facebook, your profile is there, your date of birth is there, imagine your bank account apps, right? Maybe your GT Bank app, your date of birth is there, your BVN is there. You have given them all your information when you signed up into that app. So all of that information in the software sitting on the hardware, needs to be protected from party from accessing it. Those who are not authorized to access it should not be able to access it. Otherwise, once they have access to it, then we now said there's a breach of security. So the first coverage of cybersecurity is data security, which is what I said about Ayobami. Ayobami is already into data analysis, which is very fantastic. It's already into data, right? So all he needs to just step up a little more is to be able to see how he can secure the data that is already dealing with today to prevent unauthorized access. So that's the first level or the first type of area where cybersecurity is important and relevant. Number two is application security, right? Applications are the softwares that runs on your system, and some of these applications are prone to, they are prone to threats sometimes. If you have heard about WhatsApp being hacked several times, you have heard about Facebook account being hacked several times. That is an application that is being hacked, right? So somebody can hack your Facebook account, someone can hack your WhatsApp account, and I will tell you how they do these things as we go along in this course. So we see how some of these methods that they use, which is what you will be learning during this course, to see exactly how these things work. How can people really hack my Facebook account? What do they do? How do they know how to, access my password? What can you click on that can make you give out information that you're not supposed to give out? So, well, I will leave it there for now. Application security is, you protecting your software from being accessed or being open to threats from an outsider. So another level is mobile security. So mobile security involves your phone, right? People can hack your phone through your Bluetooth. We have heard this before, times without number, that if you are in a public area, you are connecting to a public Wi-Fi. Be careful the kind of transactions you are. In fact, I always have security consciousness require that when you are using a public Wi-Fi, say you go to ShopRite and you are connecting to their hotspot, a public hotspot there, you should never send money. You should not perform any transaction, like you should not do any, what's it called, any security sensitive activities on your phone when you are connecting to a public Wi-Fi. Why? Because your Bluetooth, your Wi-Fi, your phone can give out information that is not supposed to give out because you are connected to a public Wi-Fi. So how do you protect your mobile phones? How do you protect your tablets from being used as a means or as an access route to gain access to information that people are not supposed to gain access to? That is also an area for cybersecurity to look into. Mobile security, application security, data security. Then network is the one I started with. Network has to do with communication between two systems, right? So when I launched this meeting tonight, is actually network, right? I'm sending a request via Zoho, and then you guys are connecting via a network, connection also. If I inspect this page now, I'm currently sharing. Okay, I think I have something I can inspect here. If I inspect this page, since you can see my screen, let me just go to let me go to IT Skills, for instance. If I go to this site now and I click on inspect, I don't know if you can confirm you can see the console I'm opening. Can you see my console? I just want to quickly show you the network tab and how traffic is sent from system to system. Leon, can you see my console?
Yeah, I can see your console.
Are you sure you can see my console? So when I say console, I just opened this. What can you see on my console? Do you see fail to load resource?
Oh, the only thing I see is land your dream job in tech, land software development, product management, or data science.
So that's not my console. Let me share my console. This is my console right here. All right, so this is my console. I just shared my console. Can you see it now?
Still, screen is being shared.
Okay. Can you see my console now?
Yeah. Yes, I can see.
Okay, so this is my exactly. So this is my console. This console is available on your system too. It's available on every Chrome browser. And why I'm sharing this is that it's a developer tool. You can see dev tools at the top, right? So any site you open, any website you open at all, this Chrome allows you to access these dev tools, and you can come to this arrow here. You see something called network. So network allows you to see every information, every bit of traffic that is going through your system to fetch the content of that website. I'm going to reload this page just to show you. So if you look at it now, let me open it a bit more. So you can look at this now. So this website you are seeing, which is ITskillsCenter website right now, when it's being fetched, when I type www.itskillscenter.com on my website, it calls that website address. This name, itskillscenter.com.ng, is called a domain name, right? But behind the domain name is an IP address, because to systems, they don't actually know the domain name. What they know is the IP address. Like I told you at the beginning, for those that joined a bit late, I explained the concept of addressing system, right? Just the way your physical houses have what we call addresses. You have number 11, number 12, number 13, whatever the address is, something number, right? So every house has an address. The same thing, every system on the internet has an IP address. That IP address is not understandable to us as humans. We cannot be cramming, oh, this system is called 192.168.12.14. We cannot cram that. We can't deal with that as humans. So there's something called domain name servers, or DNS, right? So those DNS are like a registry where all the IP addresses are now mapped to corresponding English bearing names called the domain names. So this ITskillsCenter.com.ng, for instance, is actually mapped to an IP address, which I can show you if time permits me. I'll show you the IP address of this domain name, right? So why am I showing you this? When this domain name is being called, it's going to translate the domain name. That's the Chrome browser now, the internet. The internet is going to understand that this domain name actually is the alias of an IP address. So it's going to get the IP address, look for ITskillsCenter folder on that system that has the IP address, and start fetching the content. These are the content of our website, a bootstrap.main.js, a Cerebration, which is a font. Then we have the font awesome. We have all this font system. Then we have the images that are used on that website. But that's not where I'm going. Where I'm going is actually if there are third-party APIs that are being called, you can see them under this fetch SHR here, right? If I click on this fetch SHR right now, I don't have anything here. But if I go to some other website that have like an Ajax core that have some APIs, like a banking site, if I load any banking site, you see some APIs here. So why I'm showing you this is that if as a cybersecurity expert, you should be able to tell when somebody is listening to your traffic, when somebody is going to hijack your traffic by checking this network tab and seeing that, okay, is there any sensitive information I'm revealing in my network packets? I've seen some sites that if I go to their fetch SHR here, you will see that they're actually calling back BVN. I think I can get a site. Maybe in the next class, I will look for an existing site that I can use to show you that. So you will see that they are calling the users when you log into your account. You will see that they're actually fetching. Let me see if I can get one. I think I should be able to get one. Let me quickly launch a site that I think I have. Yeah, I'm going to call this one. Let's see if I have something here. Yes, I should have something here. So I'm loading this site now. I'm going to go to my network. Confirm you can still see my network tab. All right, so this is beautiful. So you see this now. Let me reshare my screen in case you can't see that one. I'm going to reshare my screen and show you this other one. This is it. So Leon, confirm you can see the other screen I'm sharing right now. See it?
Yeah, I can see it. Fetch XHR.
Yes. So you see down here, you see the dashboard. So there's a site I just opened. It's a federal government site for applying for loan and all of that. So I just opened it and I want to show you how all of this works together. So I'm going to log into my account there on that side just to show you how some of these things work. You can see what is going on. You can see as I'm doing that, you can see it's connecting to APIs. You see forgot password, you see what is returning, you see reload, you see login. You can see I try to log into my account and it tells me status error, message incorrect, email or password, right? So that's what I'm trying to tell you. So this is connecting to what we call an API. API is like the backend server, is the server side of the application. So every website has a front end and a back end. The front end is where the users are, trying to log in. The interface, the part where the users interact with is called the front end, while the back end is the part that you don't see. All the places, the part that has to do with saving the information into database, fetching back the information from database, updating records, and all of that is the back end, right? So we communicate with the back end. The front end communicates with the back end via the APIs, right? And those APIs are designed by developers or software engineers. But why is this relevant to you as a cybersecurity expert? Because your job as a cybersecurity expert is that you want to prevent unauthorized access. That is the thing. And I've seen that sometimes developers will develop APIs like this, thinking that it's secured, but as a cybersecurity expert, you're able to do what we call penetration tests to confirm that this API is actually bulletproof enough. Let me use that word. Permit me to use bulletproof enough so that an hacker will not bypass this login API to gain unauthorized access. And there are different ways that an hacker can access this API here and bypass it. They can do what we call SQL injection, right? They can do SQL injection. They can do phishing, which I will show you in a while. But what I'm just trying to make you understand is I'm trying to explain the foundational topics or the concepts around cybersecurity, right? So I've told you about how internet works, how communication works between two systems. I've explained packets, how traffic move between a site to the backend, which is what I'm showing you right now. And I'm trying to explain to you, which is what brought me here, how network security works, because we are on network security on our cybersecurity element, network security. So because systems communicate with each other, you have to be able to prevent hackers from listening on your traffic, on your network packets, because if they can listen on that, they can do what we call sniping. They can actually get a bit of, so for instance, as this user is logging in now, let's say somebody has hacked this API and he has put in a phishing bot there. When the real user wants to log in the next time on your system and you go to this interface and you click on login and you type your username and password. Once you click on submit, because the hacker is already listening on this API endpoint, or it's already listening on the network packet, when you type in your username and password and you click on submit, the username and password that you type is going to be sent to that hacker first before it is sent to this backend. So to the user that is ignorant, it will be sent to the hacker. The hacker will have a record of your username and password. Then it will now send it to the actual API it's supposed to go to. The person will log in correctly because the API will log in the person. The person will go into his dashboard, continue his normal account access, thinking that nothing has happened. He has logged in successfully and is doing all his normal activities. But the hacker has actually gained access to your username and password. And when you are done, when you log out and you go away, the hacker will now come back, log into your account and do whatever he wants to do. Do you understand? That's how some of these things work. So I'm going to show you examples of how different methods of hacking works, or ethical hacking works. Let me share my slide back so that we continue on the slide. All right, so that has to do with network security. So those are the 4 major areas that cybersecurity has to do with. So I'm going to continue by mentioning some other areas where cybersecurity is relevant. So we have the endpoint security, which has to do with antiviruses, maybe like threats that has to do with local on your system, your USB. Somebody can insert a USB flash drive. You have seen sometimes when you go to printing places, when you want to go and print, and you insert your flash drive into their system, and then something enters your flash drive, you will not know, but you just kind of encrypt your files folders, replicate your files folder, making it look like it's still the original files, but in actual fact, it's actually an alias to itself. So that when you double click on those folders, thinking that you want to open your file to print, you're actually executing the code of the hacker, or you're executing the code of the virus in that sense. So when you take that flash back to your own system and insert it into your system, the thing will now automatically run your system. So that is endpoint security. You have to know how to prevent that. So we have ways of preventing that, like antiviruses and, not double clicking on folders. There are common things I can tell you about, when you are dealing with USB flash drives. So, but the basic rule is that don't double click on anything in a flash drive. That's the basic, there are basic common sense that you should have in security world, right? So, but we'll leave it at that. So that's endpoint. So it can have to do with USB. It can have to do with your system entry point, like your network cables, like your USB port, your VGA port, and the other ports. So we have cloud security. That's to do with cloud servers like AWS, Microsoft Azure, what's that one? Google Clouds, right? Or DigitalOcean. So these things have been hacked. I remember when I hosted something on DigitalOcean very recently, and I now installed cPanel on top of it. Can you guys confirm you are still with me so that I'm not just talking to myself? Let me be sure you're there. Lewis and Aishat, and welcome to Subdin and Ayobami and Tega. Can you confirm you can hear me clearly? Are you guys with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So I was talking about cloud security. So another place that we need to really protect data is cloud servers. There are people that are experts in AWS alone, right? They are very, very much profound and sound. They specialize in AWS security. Do you have a question, Tega? I see you're waving your hand. Are you just indicating you're hearing me, you can hear me, or you are indicating that there's a question? Tega, you can unmute and speak. Okay, I'll believe you're just indicating you can hear me. All right, so that's cloud security. So you need to know how to protect cloud servers, right? Because that one is even much more dangerous, because in a cloud environment, you have different, layers of security that you need to build around your servers to ensure that they are protected from unauthorized access. You have firewalls, you have load balancers, you have VPN, what we call the virtual private network, a VPN. You can kind of whitelist some IP addresses. So how VPN works is that you can tell your server, your cloud server, DigitalOcean, Google Cloud, and any of those servers, right? You can tell them that only this IP address. Remember, I've been mentioning IP address so far. IP addresses are the naming for every system that connects to the internet. They are like their names, right? That's what they call them in the world of internet, IP addresses. So you can whitelist, if you want to protect a server, a cloud server, you can whitelist that server, telling it that only specific IP addresses can connect to it. And that's what banks do. So banks, to protect their system, they put their cloud server under a VPN, a virtual private network, and then whitelist their own mobile app and their web apps to say that only the IP address that their web application runs on can connect to their cloud servers. That way, if an hacker or an attacker wants to access their server and is running, of course, it's going to be running on a different IP address because it's operating from his own system. His IP address will be different. He will not be able to connect to those cloud servers. So that's an example of how to protect or to offer cloud security. I'm just already giving you examples of these things, right? So, but we'll go in more in depth as we go in more days ahead, right? So the next one that is cybersecurity is applicable is database and infrastructure security. Database and infrastructure security. Of course, for the person that is already into data, I'm sure for Ayobami that is into data, you already deal with databases, right? You're supposed to be able to generate or collect, or let's say you can fetch data from databases. You can get a database dump from anywhere, and then you can fetch. In fact, you are supposed to know SQL as a data analyst, and as a cybersecurity expert, so you are supposed to have a bit idea of an. In fact, I tell people that as a cybersecurity expert, if you know a bit of programming, you will have an edge over people that don't know programming. So you might not know it in detail like you want to be a software engineer, but if you know a bit of JavaScript, you know a bit of SQL, it will give you an edge because then you'll be able to write basic codes, right? You can write basic scripts that can help you to test out some penetration testing, right? You can do some penetration testing. So instead of just relying on third-party libraries every time downloading 2 gig, 5 gig of libraries to use, you can write simple, basic, script that you can use as a cybersecurity expert, right? So coming back to database and infrastructure security, that has to do with protecting databases, right? It could be Firebase, it could be SQL databases, it could be MySQL, it could be MongoDB, it could be Postgres database, any kind of databases. All of them are accessed via what we call the port. Databases are accessed via a port, and they have their own IP addresses too. So you need to understand how to protect those databases. As a matter of fact, databases are also accessed by users, right? When I mean users, you create a user that can log in into the database. So you need to know how to create secured user access and what we call least privilege, which is to create users that don't have more than enough privilege that they should have to access those database content. So when you're creating a user like an admin user to access a database, for instance, if that user is supposed to just be a user that can update records, you need to set up your security and permissions for that user you are creating to only be able to update records. Don't just create a user, open up all permissions, the person can read, write, edit, delete, do anything. Once an hacker is able to gain access to such an account, maybe by phishing method, by direct encryption or infiltration into a system, and he gain access to that admin credential, because you did not limit the privilege of that account, then that hacker you have given that hacker all the access he needs to do anything on your database. So what I'm saying is that database infrastructure security requires that you understand all the rules that guide database security and be able to set up permissions, roles, and privileges to guide unauthorized access. Then we'll talk about business continuity and all of that. I'll jump that so that I don't bore you. Why is cybersecurity important? Why is it very important, right? It's very critical, like I've said. If someone gain access to something they're not supposed to gain access to, they can steal sensitive information. As a matter of fact, they can steal money. They can hack into something, steal money from unauthorized accounts. Even these guys that steal phones these days, this is what they do. Before, they used to steal phone and tell you at gunpoint that, oh, transfer money to us. These days, they don't need to give. They don't need to put gun. No, they don't need to ask you to send money to them. Once they steal your phone, they will take your phone and use your phone number to request for your BVN by dialing *601 or so, depending on the bank you are using. They first of all check your phone, maybe hack your password to log into your phone. Once they can enter your phone, they will check your BVN, check your account numbers. That's why it's not good to save your account number as a contact. Most people save their account number as a contact because they don't want to forget. That's a very bad way. Once your phone is stolen, there are many ways they can get your account number, check your SMS messages, see that you have received some alerts, which of course your bank must always send to you. See your last 4 digits of your account number in your SMS message. I can keep on explaining over and over. Before you know, you just keep getting a debit, a debit, a debit, a debit, a debit. And they've stolen you. So you have to understand ways that these guys work. And as a cybersecurity expert, you have to be able to advise your organization how to prevent stealing of sensitive information from their systems. You know, you have to be able to install antivirus. You have to be able to tell them how to set up accounts that will have least privileges. You know, that is why it's very important, because once there's a breach of security, a lot can happen. Apart from just money loss, people can even lose their life. They can lose their privacy. You know, imagine medical records that were hacked in the US sometimes back about 5 years ago. You know, a particular medical center that has, you know, a lot of private information of people were hacked. People now, you know, if you hack into maybe a CIA database, or you hack into an NSA database, all the spies that US has all over the world, they will be killed. But those things are by WikiLeaks. Most times when WikiLeaks release some information, they are usually because they've hacked some of these systems, very critical systems, and they now have information that they can use to exchange for money. They sell information in the black market. So it's very important that you as a cybersecurity expert know how to prevent unauthorized access and prevent, you know, sensitive information from being stolen. Let me check the chat. Someone is messaging me. It seems you're raising your hand. Tega, do you have a question? Yeah, I've asked him so far. I'm not sure he has a question. So, but let's keep on. Tega, are you able to speak? I'm not sure you have a question because your hand has been raised. I think I'm just going to lower your hand. All right, so that's why it's very, very important. Cybersecurity is very critical because it prevents unauthorized access. So let's move on to the areas. You know, these are the methods I was talking about the other time. These are the methods that hackers use to gain unauthorized access into people's systems or databases or cloud servers. I've told you the different elements of where you need to create security, right? I told you about your endpoints, your servers, that's what we dealt with here that we'll be mentioning so far. We talked about data security, application security, mobile security, network security, endpoint security, cloud security, database security, and disaster recovery. But let's now look at ways that these threats are being introduced into people's servers and endpoints and data and network and all of that. Number one is phishing, which is the most common. I'm sure every one of us on this call must have received a mail. I was combing through my email before this call. I wanted to pick, before the next time I would do that, I wanted to pick all these spam emails I get, especially from EcoBank. Not EcoBank as in EcoBank, but people that mimic EcoBank and GTBank. There's a lot of them I get. You will see the email, very legit, like GTBank email with the header. Let me even check if I can find one. I think I should still have one. GTBank asking me to update. They will tell you to update something, you know, but it's a lie. Once you update anything, you are on your own. Your money is gone. So I will probably look for those examples of email, but those are phishing emails. So what is phishing all about, right? Phishing is just sending a direct link, targeting someone to redirect them to a fake site, requiring their personal information so that they can use those personal information to, you know, access what they're not supposed to access. Can I confirm you guys are still with me? Leon Lewis, are you still with me?
I am so very much with you.
Okay, great. All right, so phishing is the first most prominent method that hackers use to gain unauthorized access to the system. And what do? They will put a link. That link usually goes to a fake website that is a representation of the real website. So they can create an exact replica of GTBank, right? And then send a mail to people, buy emails from anywhere. There are many places you can buy emails these days, right? Emails are available everywhere, but you can download them for free. So they get emails of people everywhere, or buy it from people. Then they send fake email with fake links to tell, and they will use GTBank logo in the email, use GTBank kind of content, and then tell them to click in that. They can tell you there is an update going on, and we need you to update your date of birth, or we discover that your password has been logged in by someone else. They can even pretend to be that someone is trying to hack your system. They will tell you that, we've received an unauthorized login into your account recently. Can you click this link to reset your password or to quickly prevent unauthorized access into your account? You too, that you want to be security conscious, now you click on it. It takes you to their site. They will show you a forgot password page or a reset password page. They will now tell you put your old password to be able, before you put the new one, put the old one so that they can confirm it's you. You put the old one, but you are giving them your real password. So that is phishing, right? So you redirect you. So it's just phishing is a way of tricking people to steal their private data by sending them a link and then trick them into believing that you are the real person, but really you are not the real person, or they are not the real person, and they get the information from the user, and then the user is able to hack into the system of the user. So that is phishing, right? Then that's why you always advise that you should not click any link on WhatsApp. All these forwarded messages, don't click any link there. Then malware. Malware is another way. Malware stands for malicious software, right? So it's a combination of mal, which is malicious, and software, which is where, the where at the back of soft, right? So malware simply enables attackers or hackers to have access to install devices. That's the one I was talking about for flash drives. So when you insert your flash drives in a system that has a virus, a malware, then that malware is going to replicate itself on the flash drive. And then when you insert it back into your system, it's going to run on your system, encrypt all your folders, turn itself into, so what it just do essentially is to kind of multiply themselves so rapidly within your system that you can't even eliminate them, you can't delete them, because they will encrypt all your folder, create a redirect link to themselves. So if you want to delete your folder, it's like deleting everything you have, right? I don't know if you have anyone have experienced that before, especially on Windows system. It's very difficult on a MacBook or on a Linux server, but on a Windows is like a bedrock, or is like the breeding ground of malwares, right? So that's what malware does. So it usually has to do with installed devices, while phishing has to do with redirection and links. Remember that phishing has to do with redirection and links. It's just faking to be someone you are not and pretending to be someone you are not to someone and getting their information by that pretense. The malware has to do with a real virus that is installed on a flash drive or on a device and can be transmitted and transferred from places to places. SQL injection is another method that hackers use to gain unauthorized access to systems, right? What is SQL injection? Like I mentioned before, SQL has to do with SQL is actually a language for interacting with databases. It's a proper language. It's a structured query language, right? It's something you can learn. So it has to do with reading information from databases, fetching information on database. Let me see if I can launch a sample database if it's up. Let me say SQL online. I think I used to have one online here. So let me see if I can launch SQL here. All right, so confirm you can still see my screen and you can see the screen I'm sharing right now. Can you guys see the screen I'm sharing? Anybody wants to confirm for me? Leon, are you there? Can you see my screen, the SQL screen I just shared?
No, screen is not showing yet.
Oh,
I can't see the screen as well.
My screen
I'm
is.
still seeing. It's not sharing anything.
Oh wow! But you've been seeing it so far, right? Have you been seeing my screen
Yeah,
so far?
where it ended was where that end points, where those points were. Okay, now I can
Wow.
see your screen.
Oh wow! Seriously, you didn't mention it. Please, if my screen is, I'm sharing my screen constantly. If you are not seeing my screen again, just quickly alert me. You can raise your hand and then I can fix that, because I thought I've been sharing so far. I've been actually sharing my slide. So I launched this site just to show you quickly what SQL look like. So this is an SQL site where you can practice SQL, right? So what is an SQL statement? Like I said, it's the query language. Look at it. This is an example of an SQL statement. Select all from patients. Select all from patients. So this means that it should return all the records that are in this table. So a database is actually made up of tables, right? Tables are like a repository of information, of data. So it's made up of rows and columns. So imagine a table. I wish I could launch. Let me launch my database locally for you to see. What's the name of this thing again? Okay, let me launch my database for you to see. Where is it? Come on here. SQL. No, not this one. Mom. Okay. All right. So let me. I just want to launch my. So I want to show you that database look like, so that when I'm explaining databases, you understand what I'm saying exactly. So I'm launching my database now. I want to show you that. Okay. We'll soon wrap up the class. Once we'll stop somewhere around PHP my admin. I'm going to launch this now. Give me a second. Okay, so it's coming up now. So confirm you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, good. So let me see if I can. PHP. Okay, so I'll just use the online version. The local version is not running. So this is what databases look like. That's what's coming up now. All right. So this is an example of a database, right? As you can see here, you see why I'm opening this up for you is that I want to show you the database rows and columns. So you can see the rows here, you can see the columns. So every information here, you use an SQL statement. As you can see here, select all from applicants, similar to what I showed you here. So I wanted to just make you understand what you are saying here so that you are not, it's not looking like what is the meaning of patient. So patient is the table that you are fetching all the records from. So this asterisk means all. It means all. It's telling the database to return all the records from this patient's table, which is example here is that we have an applicant's table. We have so many other tables here, as you can see on the sidebar. We have so many other tables in the database, right? And we have records here that you can fetch. So when I say select all from applicants, I'm telling the database to return to me all the records in the database, right? So back to what took me to that place. I was trying to explain to you. I was trying to explain the cyber threat, which is this one. I was on SQL injection, right? So SQL injection has to do with introducing an SQL code into a system that is already using SQL. So for instance, when you are writing your code as a software engineer to fetch record from database, you are going to actually write SQL statements, whether in Laravel or any of those things, you're going to write an SQL statement. So an attacker who understands SQL injection can actually introduce his own SQL statement like this one that I'm just showing you now, like this, learn, select from this. He can introduce an SQL statement that will return records that is not supposed to be returned to the user, back to the user. That's called SQL injection. So he can introduce his own SQL statement because he knows what to write. He can write the SQL code, introduce it. So when a user wants to log in, for instance, here, let's say I want to log in into this site, for instance, as you can see, if I want to log into this site, an attacker that knows SQL statement can say, instead of writing the email, he can write select all from, he can say users, because by default, most databases will have a users table, which is not, if you're a security conscious person, you should not even name any table users. But most amateur programmers, we always have a table called users, right? Because that's where they keep the record of all the users in database. So an attacker can actually know that, suspect that there's a users table, write this kind of statement and say where all equals to 1 and launch it. If the system is not really checking, it's not validating the user's information, like this information, this box will only receive email addresses alone. If it's not validating that and it's just accepting whatever the users type, it can go and execute this in the database and return and accept this guy and let him log in by running this query, right? So that's what SQL injection means. It's simply introducing SQL code into a form that has been provided for users to type in their normal information. And usually it works if you understand how SQL works. Then backdoor. Backdoor is another cyber threat that exists, right? Backdoor is just leaving, maybe people that go, so you have seen movies like Black Hat, they will go to a bank, for instance, and say they want to open an account. They will find a way to sneak into their server room and just leave, a backdoor access, right? When I say backdoor now, it's not a physical door, right? It's not a physical door. It's like creating an extra user on a server that every other person does not know about, so that the hacker, when he leaves the environment, can actually use that user's account to log in and perform all the unauthorized access he wants to do. Or maybe when you are updating your system, it can, by updating your system, if you don't update to the right version, or maybe when your system is outdated, let me use the other one. When your system is outdated, maybe your Windows system, you are still using Windows 7. Windows 7, for instance, we are currently on Windows 11 or so. We are still on Windows 7. There are some backdoors, there are some gaps, or let me say there are some patches, or there are some backdoors. The right word is backdoor. I'm just looking for alternative words, but backdoor is the real word. So when they develop Windows 7, there are some vulnerabilities that have been detected on Windows 7 that have been patched in Windows 8, Windows 10. Windows 11. So if you are still on Windows 7, automatically hackers know that there are some vulnerabilities on Windows 7 that they can leverage. And if you are still on that Windows 7, they can leverage those backdoors, those vulnerabilities. I think that's what I'm looking for. Vulnerabilities and backdoor is the same thing. So they can leverage those vulnerabilities to actually hack into your Windows 7 system and hack into your file. So that's what a backdoor. So a backdoor is simply an access that is supposed to have been blocked that is still left open and can be used to access your system, right? That's a backdoor. Denial of service attack is another method. So when hackers want to attack a system, it's usually very enterprise systems like banks or CIA or very major Facebook, Google. You remember there was a time last year that Google was down briefly for like 3 hours. Even Facebook was down, I think sometimes early last year or maybe 2 years ago, right? So they do something called denial of service attack, right? So this method is something that hackers use. They overload. So anytime you are accessing a website, if I go to facebook.com, for instance, now, when I go to facebook.com, I'm simply accessing, or when I go to google.com, for instance, I'm simply making a request to that particular website, right? And when I make that request, that is one request, and they have to respond to me. So imagine 2 people are making the request, 3 people are making the request, 4, 5, 6, 10,000, 20,000 people are making the same request. There is a maximum capacity that the server can respond to. There's a maximum number of users that the server can respond to per time. So what hackers do is that if they want to hack a system or they want to perform what we call denial of service attack, they will create a replica. They will mimic several requests. So they will use one system, but they will write a script that can be calling a particular website over and over again in multiple ways, called multi-threading. So they'll be calling it in multiple ways, bombarding that system with multiple requests until the system reaches its maximum limit. So if we think that a lot of users are trying to call for the request, but really it's actually a single hacker that is bombarding the same system with requests. Right, that way the system will be overloaded, and then they will be able to overpower the system and then gain access to the system. That's denial of service attack, right? So it's just overloading a system with requests, bombarding it until it reaches its maximum capacity, and it will now give up and allow access to happen. Then the next one is direct access attack. Let me just move on because of time, right? We're already 1 hour into the class and we're supposed to wrap up. So we have spoofing. Spoofing is simple. Spoofing is masquerading, that comes from data falsification. So it includes IP address spoofing, email spoofing, biometric spoofing. So spoofing is just masquerading and pretending to be who you are not. It's similar to phishing, right? But spoofing is more like you are falsifying data. So you are pretending to be. So you have someone's email, phone number, right? You are able to get access to that. Maybe somebody stole their phone, got their email address and phone number. They can now use that email address and phone number to go to their bank app and go and do a password reset, knowing fully whether they have access to the phone. So when they trigger a password reset on any platform, right, that they use that email and phone number, it will send OTP to their phone number, and they can see the phone number and they can see the email on that phone, right? So they can reset the password and they can, gain access. So that's why it's very, very, very bad to allow your phone to be stolen, because sometimes it's tied to everything that you have, all your accounts, all your email addresses are on your phone, and if they do a password reset, it sends an OTP to them and they can have access to your account, right? So this is where we wrap up today. The tips on building cybersecurity, protection. What do you do? So you have to avoid any suspicious emails. You have to avoid that. You have to provide regularly update your password. Make sure it's very strong. You have to make sure that, like I said about public Wi-Fi, make sure never to use public Wi-Fi, but if you use it, make sure you don't do any sensitive, you don't carry out any sensitive activity. Have a secure backup in case your server are hijacked by hackers. Make sure you have a backup. There was a time my server here, this particular server in question here, was hijacked by some hackers, right? So they were able to hijack it, and then all I needed to do was to reset the whole thing and then restore for my repo, right? So I'll make sure you have, because sometimes when they hijack it, there's something you can do. It's that they ask you for money, or they want to be using your server to do something else that you are not aware of. So you can reset everything and restore your system from backup. Then you have to have, like I said, limited privilege for accounts you are creating. So accounts you are creating access for people to access servers and different things. Make sure you provide this privilege, educate your staff, all of this. So that's where we end in terms of cybersecurity introduction. But how does it apply to you? How does it apply to you? Like I said, there are different specialization in cybersecurity. There is penetration testing, there is SQL injection, there is security and risk management, there is programming, and there is cryptography. So you have to learn different areas of cybersecurity, which are the things that we will learn in the full course when we come into the program proper. But before the end of this foundational class, I'm going to be showing you how SQL injection work. I'm going to just focus on 1 or 2 bits. I'll focus on maybe SQL injection and cryptography. So we're going to look at that. How does cryptography work? How does SQL injection work? Maybe a bit of programming, maybe a bit of JavaScript if time permits us, because we have very few days. But we're going to do some practical. So we're going to download some tools like Metasploit, like Metasploit, like Wikijack, and all of them. So we're going to download some tools that they use in performing penetration testing. We're going to narrow down penetration testing particularly, so that, you know, because it's very wide. Like I said, it's very wide. We can't cover everything in just 1 week. But this is a foundational class. So we're going to look at penetration testing. How does it work? What is ethical hacking? How does ethical hacking work? What are the tools that you use in carrying out an exploit? If you want to really exploit and find out if there are vulnerabilities on a particular server on a particular site, we're going to look at those tools, right? We're going to focus on SQL injection also, and then see how SQL injection attack works, how to carry it out, and then so many other things that you will be interested in knowing about. So that's it. So I will leave the room or the floor for questions now, so that you can ask your questions, and then I can take them before we wrap up for today. So anyone that asks questions, please signify, and then we can take your questions. So Leon, you are still there. Tega, you're there. Aishat, you're there. You can ask your questions. Let's take your questions quickly.
All good on this side, no question. Just looking forward to the next class, yeah?
All right. Aisha, yeah. Tega, do you have any question? Tega, do you have any question?
Tega, can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now. Good.
What tool do you say we should download so we can prepare for the next class?
So I will drop the link, because some of them are very heavy, right? Some of them are very, very heavy. So I will send the link to the group, then you'll be able to download the book. Just make sure you have, for a starter, make sure you have Postman for a starter, just to explain how APIs work and how to test API, right? Make sure you have Postman.
Okay, Postman.
And yeah, make sure you have Postman. So that's then, can
you send us the link for the Postman as well?
Okay, I'll send the link to Postman. I'll send you the link to Postman.
All right, thank you very much.
Then we might also need to learn a bit of SQL just to understand how SQL works. So instead of that, if you have, are you on Windows or Mac? Which operating system are you using? That's for Tega now.
I'm on Windows.
We are Windows. Tega, what system are you?
Mac.
You're on a MacBook, Tega, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So because it differs, the tools that are available on Windows are not the same as the tools that we have on MacBook. So I will see how we can work around it. But download Postman. Let me just drop the link for Postman now, so that download Postman, so that everybody has that. So you download for your Windows or your particular OS that you have. So I'm dropping that on the group. Yeah. So that's, I've dropped this. You can confirm you've seen it.
Yes. Seen it.
Okay, so download Postman, install it, and set it up. Let it be available on the system before the next class.
Okay.
Then let me just ask, do you have an idea of SQL already, Tega? So Tega, do you have an idea of SQL already? Are you there? Oh, I can't hear you again, Tega. Okay, so maybe you can't talk again. All right, that's fine. So download Postman. In the next class, we will start with that. I will show you how how to test APIs, how to look at. We will narrow down on penetration testing for this our foundational class. There's a whole lot more there. Like I said, there's cryptography, there is security and risk compliance, there is SQL injection and all of that. We can't cover that in a week, but let's narrow down. Either we narrow down on SQL injection or penetration testing, right? But I'll prefer penetration testing because that's more practical and more something you can play with at your own time on your system, right? So we narrow down on either of those two, and then we see how much skills you can gain in the next 1 week. And I'm sure you'll be excited to, be a cybersecurity expert or an ethical hacker, as the case may be, right? So that's it. So since there are no other questions, that will be all for tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the session, and we'll see you in the next class. The timetable for the class, I'm sure, must have been dropped. If it has not been dropped, it will be dropped so that you can see the next day. I think it's on Monday or Tuesday for the next class. So yeah, so the timetable will be dropped, and then you can join us. Make sure you don't miss the next class and join early so that we can start having our practical section as soon as possible. All right, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Yeah, thank you. You too.